Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a long time awaited UFC review. I haven't done one of these in quite some time. I don't know about it being long awaited, but I haven't done one in quite a while. I watched UFC 223 that happened on April 7th of 2018 of this year. And I thought maybe, I'm watching some UFC events throughout this week. Not caring too much about wrestling so much. I may watch the Best in the World ROH event that happened on June 29th and give you guys my overall opinion about how the show went and just the results and everything. But getting on to this event for UFC 223 with an undefeated fighter by the name of this name is very hard to pronounce. Khabib Nurmagomedov facing Al-Quinta. This was the main event for the UFC Lightweight Championship, which was officially announced that they would be considered the undisputed champion of the lightweight division. Tony Ferguson was the original opponent for Khabib, and Khabib unfortunately could not face Tony Ferguson because Tony Ferguson got an injury. Ferguson's actually been on a winning streak of late, but unfortunately with training he got injured and got him out. Max Holloway was originally supposed to be the replacement for Khabib, but he didn't make weight, so he had to make up a lot of weight, gain a lot of poundage to get into this fight from 145 to 155, so he had to gain 10 pounds within a couple of weeks. He was unable to do so, and he was unable to do the fight. So they had to find another replacement a couple of days before the event, and Al-Quinta decided to throw his name in the hat, and Dana White gave him the opportunity to become the official lightweight champion, only being ranked at 11th place. So with that alone, even if he was to win, that would be a history in the making in itself. That was not to be. But I'll get into what happened during that fight. First fight I'm going to get into that opened the show was Chris Kreutzmeyer versus Joe Lauzon. Joe Lauzon's actually a very good veteran UFC fighter, and he was performing very well in the first round. By second round, though, he was getting destroyed. They had a TKO stoppage at the end of the second round, and his eyes were swollen shut, basically. The doctor came in, took a look at him, and said, no, he can't keep going. So they made this a TKO. The fight was pretty much a falling down, beat down of each other, brawl. There was nothing really technical about this. This was who's going to knock out who first. And unfortunately, Joe Lauzon is prone to cutting easily, so he actually ended up losing this fight because of that. How did I feel about this fight? Well, personally, I thought this fight was pretty damn entertaining based on the fact that they just were throwing shit at each other left and right, and it was fun, interesting brawl to watch. So if you don't particularly got excited from watching the opener of this fight, you're a fucking idiot. And you don't particularly like fighting, period. Especially mixed martial arts. Next fight after that was Zabit Magomed facing Kyle Bochek. This fight was actually really good. Bochek came into this fight with an 8-2 record, while Zabit actually had a 14-1 record. Truth of the matter is, Zabit had more arsenal to his repertoire. He had more skill set than Kyle did. Kyle is a more stand-up fighter who brawls, throws punches, and knocks you out. He's got a lot of heart. He showed that in this fight, but unfortunately, he just couldn't touch Zabit at all. Zabit was beating him from left to right, and he just beat him with every skill set that he had, from wrestling to kickboxing to even boxing in itself. He's a very good fighter standing up, and he's good on the ground. So at some point, whenever he gets an opportunity for the featherweight championship, which is what this fight was taking place in, the featherweight division, it should be very interesting to see how that fight unfolds with him and Max Holloway, if that ever happens. But right now, this guy Zabit is a pretty impressive fighter in my eyes. Do I like him? Not really. He seemed a little too self-centered, thinks too much of himself, and he has yet to fight a top 10 contender in the UFC. So, really, am I impressed? No, not that much. But did he fight like a champion in this fight? Yes, I did see that a lot in him. Do I see a potential championship fight in his future? Yes. That all depends on if he can get through top 10 contenders, and if he can start doing that, then I'll be a believer of this guy, of being a big-time contender in the UFC featherweight division. Alright, next fight was Renato Moicano defeating Calvin Kattar. This fight was actually pretty decent, but nothing close to the Zabit Kyle fight. The Kyle Zabit fight was actually probably one of the most entertaining fights outside of maybe a few others. But this fight was decent. There was nothing bad about it. I mean, it kept your interest from beginning to end. Moicano actually defeated Calvin Kattar by unanimous decision, 29-28, 30-27, 30-27. As well as Zabit defeated Kyle 29-28, 30-27, 30-27 by unanimous decision. It was nothing crazy happened in this fight. People were kind of booing this fight a little bit because they were expecting to see this fight as good as the one before it, and they weren't impressed. Fortunately, I was actually very satisfied with what was going on. I wasn't expecting a barn burner from these two guys, to be honest. Just by the looks of them and how the fight started, it did not look like they were going to give you a 5-star classic. Pretty decent, solid fight. Nothing to go ooh and ah about, but it kept your interest if you're interested in UFC fighting. Next fight was the women's strawweight championship fight. This is a rematch between Rose Namajunas and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. This fight back in Madison Square Garden in New York City, these two were, it was a shocker. Rose defeated Joanna for the women's championship, and she was totally not expected to win the fight. She knocked her out in this, I think, the first or second round, and won the championship belt in UFC 217. 6 months later, or whatever pay-per-view, how many months it's been since the last time they fought, she does it again. She walked away retaining the championship in a unanimous decision. The scorecard was actually given to her as 49-46, 49-46, and 49-46, only giving Joanna 1 round out of the whole entire fight, which I don't believe was the right call. I think this fight was very damn close. Honestly, I think the fight was probably based on the whole entire thing. If you give 30, I was like, I'd have to say the fight was 48-47. Yeah. The fight was 48-47. That's how I would have ranked the fight, or called the fight. Rose won in my scorecards 48-47, with Joanna winning 2 of the rounds out of the 5, while Rose won 3. So me personally, I thought this fight was pretty damn close. The judges scored it completely different to what I thought. The commentators, like Joe Rogan and Jimmy Smith, they both were saying that this fight was extremely close as well. So, I mean, I was kind of shocked when the judges scored it 49-46 to Rose, unanimous decision. I thought the fight was going to be like 48-47. But still a unanimous decision regardless. But action-wise, these women went back and forth. I was pretty much surprised that Joanna was getting her ass kicked again. I mean, 3rd and 4th round, she looked like she was getting back to her old self. But in the 5th round, Rose finally started picking it up, and she walked away with the round victoriously, retaining her championship. Judge's scorecard I don't agree with. I think the score should have been a lot closer, but they still picked the correct woman to retain the title. So at the end of the day, Rose did deserve to win the championship. Thankfully, she wasn't screwed out of the title altogether. And then the last match was the Khabib Nurmagomedov defeating Al Quinta in unanimous decision, with it being 50-44, 50-43, and 50-43. The judges did not give Al Quinta a shot in hell, not even a 9 in any of the rounds, practically. He pretty much was fucking scored as getting his ass kicked horribly, as if he got knocked down multiple times in one round, if you were to score it as a boxing match. So, honestly, as just based on the scorecards alone, Al Quinta got his ass kicked. Now, giving you a description of what happened in this fight, the first 2 rounds, Al Quinta was on the ground thanks to Khabib putting him on the mat and just pounding the living hell out of him. The 3rd and 4th round, he pretty much did a stand-up game, and Al Quinta is known for being more of a knockout artist. So Joe Rogan and Jimmy Smith were really surprised by the decision that Khabib was going ahead and wanting to do a stand-up fight with him in those 2 rounds, which made no sense to them at all. His punch for the jab can be desired. He doesn't exactly have the best jab in the world. I mean, a couple of times he kind of snapped it, hit Quinta in the face, and kind of bloodied him up. He has a good 1-2 punch, but other than that, I mean, his stand-up game isn't where he excels at. He's more of a wrestler, ground and pound type fighter. He does well at that. If anybody can stop him from doing that, they more likely could win. There's belief that Conor McGregor is really the best opponent for him, surprisingly enough. The reason being is because he's known to be a good striker in UFC. He did compete well against Mayweather, even though he got beaten horribly at the end of the fight. The fight looked kind of close. He kind of had a little bit of a shot, but at the end of the day, Conor McGregor didn't excel at defeating Mayweather in a boxing match. But given the opportunity to Conor McGregor to face Khabib in a UFC event, which he's more known to do and actually excels in, they believe he would be the best opponent to actually defeat him. Tony Ferguson's another one, so unfortunately for him, he just got an injury. He couldn't face him. And Conor McGregor should have been defending his title in this fight, but he actually got arrested. After he got loads of millions of dollars from facing Mayweather. But who gives a shit? You know, you get your millions of dollars, you go to jail, and then you throw that money in the fucking garbage can just to pay off court fees and your lawyer to get you from going to jail. You know, that's how the mindset works of Conor McGregor, I guess. But whatever the case may be, he hasn't defended his lightweight championship at all. He won the featherweight championship, didn't defend that either. Won 2 titles and then haven't defended it once. So is he so much of a champion at all? I particularly don't think so. He's a guy that's more of a spectacle type fighter. He likes to put on spectacle events against big names and then go on about doing them and having it happen. But he is not what you call a champion, in my mind. He's kind of like Brock Lesnar of WWE. He wins a championship, he doesn't defend it. In order to be a champion, you have to defend your championship, not just win it. When you win it, yeah, you succeeded. You accomplished something. But when you defend it, you've actually called yourself a champion, because a champion defends his title. Now, whether or not you walk away retaining it is a totally different story. But as long as you get in the fucking ring, or the octagon in this situation, and you defend your title, you are a champion whether you walk out the winner or not. Because you at least did your part as a champion. Defend it. At least once. And fight somebody. And if you win or lose, what does it fucking matter? But that's not here or there. Khabib became the official lightweight champion in UFC, defeated Al Quinta by unanimous decision, and demolished him like nobody's business. Now, based on his personality, and from what I got from the interview that Joe Rogan gave with him, and he spoke with him, I like his personality. I think he's a straight-up guy. I like how he presents himself. He's not a cocky individual. He gives props where props are needed. Al Quinta fought his heart out to try to do something against him. He just was outmatched against Khabib, and Khabib just beat his ass. As simple as that. But is Khabib a good fighter? Meaning in the sense as not just in the octagon, but outside of it. Yes, I believe so, because the way he presented himself, his attitude is, I don't mind fighting anybody. Anyone's welcome to compete with me, and I respect anyone that I fight. He's not much of a talker. He doesn't talk a ton of trash. His attitude is, I get in the octagon, I beat your ass, and I walk away winner. That's it. Simple as that. Nothing to be said. No big hype around it. That's how every fighter's attitude should be. So that's basically it. Just to give you guys a little emphasis on how the show produced, its total gate produced $3,007,100 for this event. So a lot of people showed up for this fight. The attendance shows it was 17,026. That's as good as any WWE pay-per-view event, like major pay-per-view event that happens in an arena like SummerSlam. So, I mean, that's a pretty good show. Some shows, they have like a average 10 to 12,000 people show up to these events, but this one was a big event, and it shows just based off of the attendance. So, and this happened in Brooklyn, New York, in the Barclays Center, by the way. But anyway, guys, leave your comments and opinions down below. If you guys happen to see this fight once before when it initially happened, tell me what you guys thought of it. And I'd definitely like to hear back from you guys. And I'll comment on any comments that are made in this video today. And in the near future, of course. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have a great night.